Hey guys, this is Storytime with Devin, back again. Thank you guys for checking out my channel. The story we are reading tonight is Daisy Had Mayzie by Dr. Seuss. This was an oldie, but a goodie. I got this for Valentine's Day when I was 3 in 1995. So I'm excited to read this to you guys. It's hard to believe such a thing could be true, and I hope such a thing never happens to you. But it happened, they say, to poor Mayzie McGrew. And it happened like this. In room 8. She was sitting one day at her desk in her school in her usual way when she felt a small twitch on the top of her head. So Mayzie looked up and she almost dropped dead. Something peculiar was going on there. A daisy was sprouting right out of her hair. Behind her was sitting young Herman Butch Strudel. This looks like a daisy up here on her noodle. It doesn't make sense. Why, it couldn't be so. A noodle's no place for a daisy to grow. Then up spoke another boy, Einstein Van Tass, who I think kind of looks like Chucky from Rugrats. The brightest young man in the whole of the class. It's a very odd place to be sprouting a daisy, but nevertheless, one is growing on Mayzie. Hey, look it, cried Butch, right here in this room. Daisy had Mayzie, she's bursting in bloom. Miss Sneecher, the teacher, came rushing up quick. Such nonsense, some child here is playing a trick. Which one of you boys stuck that thing in her hair? You know that a daisy could never grow there. But teacher, said Bush, I saw the thing rise right out of her head with my very own eyes. Just give it a yank if you think I tell lies. It's not good to be made fun of, and it's never nice to make fun of anyone in school, or anyone in general. Remember that. But Miss Sneecher had heard quite enough of this talk. Mayzie, hold still, let me get at that stalk. Ouch, hollered Mayzie. Quit yanking, Butch said. You're giving her pains. I'll bet that those roots go way down in her brains. See, she's pulling her hair. The kids in the class started shouting like crazy. Daisy head, Daisy head, Daisy head, Mayzie. Children, be quiet. Good grief and alas, Miss Sneecher was shocked by the noise in her class. I've taught in this room 20 years, maybe more, but I've never seen anything like this before. I'll have to report it. You'll just have to come to the principal's office and show Mr. Grum. Uh-oh, she actually picks her up and carries her out. Now the principal, good Mr. Gregory Grum, was a very wise man, just as smart as they come. He knew more than anyone else in this nation about long division and multiplication. He knew all the answers, why oceans are deep, why skies are so high, and why mountains are steep. He should have the answer to this thing on Mayzie. My word, he declared, it's a genuine daisy. I've seen them quite often in fields growing wild, but never before on the head of a child. Now what in the world ever made this thing sprout? I have no idea, but I'm going to find out. And see, there's Dr. Seuss just looming behind. There he is. It says daisies grow on the land. They grow between rocks. They grow also in sand. It mentions right here they can grow in a pot. But mention the head of a girl, it does not. Daisies, it says, sometimes grow in Alaska, also Missouri, Rhode Island, Nebraska. They grow in Japan and in Spain, and Peru, in India, France, and in Idaho too. They grow in South Boston and also in Rome, but why, oh why, should they grow in this little girl's dome? We're about to find out. Say, look it, said Mayzie. It's wilting. It's drooping. How wonderful, Mayzie. It soon will be dead. You'll be rid of that daisy. In just a few minutes, our troubles will pass, declared Mr. Grum. Take her back to the class. Then the principal saw a most terrible sight. The daisy was dying, and that was all right. But that daisy was part of poor Mayzie McGrew, and Mayzie was starting to wilt away too. Teacher, said Grum, you know what I think. They're both going to die. Hurry, bring them a drink. See, and they go get the big pot of water, because water helps to feed flowers, to feed Mayzie as well, so she doesn't die. That Dayzie, that girl's the worst problem in town. You take her away and you make her lie down. You lock her up tight in that room down the hall. There are quite a few numbers that I've got to call. Get Maisie's parents on the end of this line. I need them here quickly while there is still time. On the phone, Maisie's mom asked, what's all the fuss? Then, goodness to Betsy, I'll catch the next bus. A call to the shoe store reached Mr. McGrew. He answered while holding a customer's shoe. See, he's holding the shoe. Yes, this is, oh, no, I really must go. A doctor should see her, the principal said, and an expert on plants like the one on her head. So he called Dr. Eisenbart, who said, what a trick. My stethoscope's packed. I'll be there in a tick. Wait, Doc, said his patient. I'll come along too. My brother's a vet, and he knows this McGrew. I like how he doesn't have his shirt on. When he heard Finch the florist grabbed for his shears, I'll be there just as soon as my truck can shift gears. Meanwhile, poor Mayzie lay down on a couch. The daisy slumped down on its leaves in a slouch, but the window was open because it was warm, and the sweet-smelling daisy attracted a swarm of bees. See all the bees coming in? Bzz, 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 bzz. Bees, bees! The faster she ran, the faster they flew. So Mayzie kept running. What else could she do? She attempted to hide behind Officer Thatcher, who cupped out his hat like a bumblebee catcher. The bees took his hat. Thatcher said, I'm no fool, and ran after Mayzie back to the school. Look at all those bees he caught. Can you imagine catching that many bees? Principal Grum didn't know what to do. It's worse, cried Miss Nature, much worse than we feared. The daisy and Mayzie have both disappeared. Behind her came charging Mr. McGrew, chased by a customer chasing his shoe, Finch the florist, Dr. Eisenbart too, Dr. Eisenbart's patient, and Mrs. McGrew. Oh, there's the customer. He doesn't have a shoe on. Then through the window with Officer Thatcher, who slammed the pane shut so the bees couldn't catch her, jumped Mayzie McGrew to the floor in a splatter, with the daisy still there, except taller and fatter. See, it's even bigger now. Can you imagine? My poor little daughter. The daisy, it's true. I'm going to faint, cried Mrs. McGrew. Tut, tut, said the florist. There's no need for tears. Just because there's a daisy between her two ears, I'll snip it right off with my sharp pruning shears. That's scary. It's like getting a massive haircut. She's my patient. Don't touch her. You must stand apart. We have to have room, said Doc Eisenbart. I think that Mayzie and her plant could help me get a research grant. See? Then the door opened wide and the mayor stepped inside. At meetings and greetings there was none to compare. He was best at long speeches, chock full of hot air. I promise my friends that if I'm re-elected, this daisy on Mayzie will be disconnected. The law of our fathers is simple and sound. Daisies belong and should stay on the ground. The rest are illegal. We'll bar them from town. See? He comes in to try to be re-elected. From the back came a voice, sometimes loud, sometimes slick, of a wheeler and dealer who knew every trick. I'm Finagle the agent. You've heard of me, I'm sure. I represent young what's-his-name and others now on tour. But Mayzie, you're so special. Please let me shake your hand. Your talent is a wondrous thing, unique in all the land. Daisy Head Mayzie, spelled out in bright light, will draw kids in the day and parents at night. Daisy Head Mayzie, you've got quite an act. Just stick with me, kid, and sign this contract. Your flower needs to sign too. Look at that, just like that. Wouldn't it be funny if it were this easy to find an agent, if all you had to do is just grow a daisy out of your hair? Her mother said, Mayzie, don't be a fool. And the principal begged her not to leave school. But Mayzie didn't stop to blink. She signed her name in think-proof ink, and the daisy signed too. See, she's signing away. Dayzie had fever was gripping the nation. It had quickly become a worldwide sensation. The newscaster's wearing it. She's on the cover of a magazine. Look at that. Dayzie had burgers and Dayzie had drinks. Dayzie had stockings and Dayzie had sinks. Dayzie had buttons and Dayzie had bows. Mayzie was famous, the star of her shows. Fame knocked on Mayzie's door. Now she had it all and more. Piles of money stacked in tens. But what is money without friends? A dream led her far astray. That was the price she had to pay. Mayzie McGrew ran night and day, nowhere to go, nowhere to stay, because she was sure that everyone must have written her off in total disgust. Over and over again in her head, these are the words that poor Mayzie said. I can never go home. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. I hope that none of you have ever felt like nobody has loved you. Nobody loved her. Poor Mayzie McGrew. It's hard to believe such a thing could be true. And maybe that's why then this Dayzie above, when Mayzie below began talking of love, well, you know about daisies. When love is in doubt, the job of the daisies, try and find out. They love her not. They love her not. So what this means, everyone, is when each petal falls, you say, he or she loves me, they love me not. That is where this comes from. Don't worry, Mayzie. They love you. Look at that. The last petal fell, and they loved her. They love me. All the students, the teachers, her parents. Well, that's how it all happened. The thing went away. And Mayzie McGrew is quite happy today, back at her studies and doing just great in all of her subjects in room number 8. And concerning that Dayzie, you know that it never grew out of the top of her head again, ever? Well, it practically never popped up there again. Except occasionally, just now and then. And after all, I'm getting used to it. Thank you for sitting and listening to this lovely story of Dayzie Had Mayzie. I think the point of this story is that it's saying it's okay to be different and that fame can only bring you so much. Many people, even me, have dreamt of fame before, and it can only bring you so much. And it's important to remember the people that love you and the people that are there to support you. They will love you no matter what, whether you grow a daisy on your head or you have 12 toes or whatever the case is. I hope you guys enjoyed this story and have a great night's sleep.